My mother-in-law tried to prove I was an unfit parent, so I proved she was an unfit grandmother instead. It started when my 3-year-old daughter, Emma, came home from her weekend at Grandma Linda's house with a black eye. She fell down the stairs, Linda explained with that fake, concerned voice she used whenever she got caught. These things happen when children aren't properly supervised. The accusation was clear. I was a neglectful mother. My husband, Jake, immediately sided with his mother. Emma's clumsy, you know that. But Emma wasn't clumsy, and the bruise on her eye looked exactly like fingerprints. That night, I held Emma while she sobbed into my shoulder. "Grandma said bad words when I spilled juice," she whispered. Then she grabbed my face really hard. My blood ran cold. The next morning, Linda called Jake at work. "I'm concerned about Emma's safety," she said loud enough for me to hear through the phone. "Sarah seems overwhelmed. Maybe Emma should stay with us more often." Linda had been building a case against me for months, pointing out every scraped knee, every time Emma's hair wasn't perfectly brushed, every instance where I seemed stressed or distracted. What she didn't know was that I'd started documenting everything, too. When Jake suggested Emma spend the entire summer with his parents, I knew Linda's plan was working. "It would be good for her," he said. "And you could use the break." That's when I realized my marriage was over. But first, I had to protect my daughter. The next Friday, instead of dropping Emma off at Linda's house, I installed a hidden camera in Emma's favorite stuffed animal, a pink bear she took everywhere. The camera was tiny, undetectable, and would record everything for 12 hours. I dropped Emma off with my usual smile. "Have fun with Grandma, sweetheart." Linda barely looked at me. "We'll call if there are any problems," she said coldly. 12 hours later, I picked up Emma and her bear. She was quieter than usual, but Linda seemed pleased with herself. "Emma was much better behaved today," she announced. "She's learning proper discipline." That night, after Emma was asleep, I connected the camera to my laptop. What I saw made me physically sick. The footage started normally, Linda giving Emma lunch, playing with toys. But as soon as Emma spilled apple juice on her dress, Linda's demeanor changed completely. "You stupid little brat," she hissed, grabbing Emma's arm so hard my daughter yelped. "Just like your mother, clumsy and worthless." I watched in horror as Linda dragged Emma to the bathroom and forced her to stand in the corner for 2 hours. When Emma cried, Linda screamed at her to shut up. "Nobody cares about your tears," she said. "Your mother doesn't want you. That's why you're here." When Emma asked for water, Linda grabbed her by the shoulders and shook her. "What did I tell you about asking for things? You get what I give you." Then she locked Emma in the guest bedroom for 3 hours. I could hear my daughter sobbing through the door, begging to come out. "Please, Grandma, I'll be good." "You should have thought of that before being such a brat," Linda replied through the door. When Emma wet herself from fear, Linda made her sit in the soiled clothes as punishment. "This is what happens to bad girls," she said. "Now you know how disgusting you are." I had to pause the video multiple times to vomit. This woman had been alone with my daughter dozens of times over the past year. The footage was devastating, but I needed more than one incident to build a case that would protect Emma permanently. The next weekend, I sent another recording device, this time sewn into Emma's jacket. The results were even worse. Linda had invited her neighbor, Margaret, over, and they spent the afternoon critiquing everything about Emma while treating her like a science experiment. "Look at her posture," Margaret said, sipping tea, while Emma stood trembling in the center of the room. No discipline at home, obviously. "Sarah doesn't know how to raise a child," Linda agreed, circling Emma like a predator. "That's why Emma needs to live here permanently." They made Emma stand perfectly still while pointing out her flaws. "Feet together, back straight, chin up," Linda commanded. "This is how proper young ladies stand." When Emma's arms dropped, Linda slapped her hands with a wooden ruler. "We'll do this until you get it right. Your mother never taught you proper behavior, but I will." They made her practice for over an hour. Every mistake earned a slap or cruel criticism. "Look at those fingernails," Margaret sneered. "Filthy. Sarah clearly doesn't teach basic hygiene." Emma had been gardening with me the day before, helping me plant flowers. Her nails had traces of soil I'd missed. I've been documenting everything, Linda said proudly, pulling out a thick folder. Sarah's drinking, her mood swings, Emma's constant injuries. The courts will see what kind of mother she really is. Margaret nodded approvingly. You're doing the right thing. That's when I realized the full scope of Linda's plan. She wasn't just trying to get more time with Emma. She was systematically breaking down my daughter's self-worth while building a custody case to steal her. The next week, when Jake asked me to pick up paper from his parents' house, I found the file. A folder labeled Emma's Welfare. Photos of scraped knees, notes about my mental instability, even screenshots of my social media posts. Every normal parenting moment twisted into evidence. But then I discovered something even darker. Old records from Linda's past jobs as a nanny. Each one ending in mysterious misunderstandings. Families torn apart, custody battles, CPS investigations. And then I found out about Jake's sister Rachel, the one Linda claimed was unstable. I tracked Rachel down. When we met, she showed me her childhood medical records, proof of abuse Linda had covered up. She broke my arm when I was Emma's age, Rachel said, told everyone I fell off my bike. She'd been gaslit her entire life, just like Jake. Together, we gathered everything, the videos, the records, the testimonies. When I finally showed Jake the footage, he broke down. Years of denial shattered in one night. The next morning, he called his mother. Emma won't be staying with you anymore. Linda exploded. How dare you keep my granddaughter from me? I have documentation proving you're both unfit. I'll take that child away if it's the last thing I do. 2 days later, we received court papers. Linda was filing for emergency custody, claiming Emma was in danger. But she didn't expect what came next. At the hearing, Linda played the role of the perfect grandmother, tearfully describing me as an unstable, neglectful mother. The judge looked sympathetic, until our lawyer, David Chen, stood up and pressed play on the video. The courtroom fell silent as Linda's true voice filled the room. You stupid little brat, just like your mother. Gasps rippled through the audience. The mask fell. Clip after clip showed her screaming, grabbing, locking Emma in rooms. Then Rachel testified, calm, composed, telling the truth about years of abuse. Finally, Dr. Martinez, the child psychologist, presented Emma's drawings, terrifying depictions of fear, isolation, and pain. This child shows no signs of abuse at home, she said firmly. All symptoms point to trauma experienced exclusively during visits with the grandmother. When the judge returned from recess, his expression was hard. This petition is denied, he said sharply, and I am issuing an immediate restraining order. Mrs. Linda Morrison is prohibited from contacting the child for at least 10 years. Then came the words that broke Linda completely. Your behavior constitutes systematic child abuse. I am referring this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Linda screamed, accusing everyone of lying. But it was over. She was arrested, convicted, and sentenced to prison. Her reputation was destroyed. News outlets ran the story. Respected grandmother caught abusing toddler on hidden camera. Former families came forward, confirming similar abuse. Jake and I went through counseling, but eventually divorced. Too much damage had been done. Still, we co-parent peacefully, united for Emma's sake. Emma healed through therapy, regained her laughter, and learned what real love feels like. She's 8 now, strong, happy, and free from the shadow of her grandmother's cruelty. Sometimes people ask if I regret exposing Linda. I don't. She made her choices. I just made sure everyone saw the truth, because the truth always wins in the end.